We say in America, that's a hard act to follow. So, thank you. That was fun. Yes, I'm going to speak very briefly and quickly about cultural intelligence and leadership. These are the two areas that I have a real passion for in working in the business world, the nonprofit world, and higher education. I've seen the need for both of these, and I found that they really come together in a very interesting way. As I mentioned, I think earlier, I'm studying cultural intelligence right now in 4 countries here in Eastern Europe. And cultural intelligence is the capability to relate and work effectively, keyword is effectively, in culturally diverse situations. So culture is the key because it's how we see the world. It's the lens by which we see the world. As I see you with my glasses or without, it changes. Cultural intelligence is made up of 4 components. Most instruments that study culture and cultural intelligence just look at one of these, the knowledge that you have, but it's much more than that. It's important to look at the knowledge you have of other cultures, but also the motivation that you have, which is a drive, the action, which is behavior that you have in working with other cultures, and then the strategy. How do you put this all together? Are you conscious of how you work with other cultures? Are you conscious of what you think about other cultures? Are you conscious of how you behave with people from other cultures? What biases do you bring that are subconscious or unconscious or conscious? And these can be discovered and they can be changed to be more effective. So there are 4 key elements that we look at. And we also are looking at this from a countrywide perspective. So we're doing research countrywide in we've done it in Ukraine and Moldova, now we're doing it in Slovenia and Serbia. The important thing to also note, here are the countries that we're working in, and it's important to note that these are countrywide. There's been many studies done on cultural intelligence in almost 100 countries around the world, but they tend to focus just on one group, business people, students, and small groups like that, whereas we're looking at the entire country. And we're looking at 2 former Soviet republics, of course, Ukraine and Moldova, and 2 former republics here in the former Yugoslavia, Slovenia and Serbia. So, we're working here in Slovenia. Let me just focus on that. We don't have time to go into the details of the other countries. Here we're working in partnership, as we always do, because we feel that it's very important to have local individuals who know the culture, who are from the culture. They have one perspective, that's the insider's perspective, but it's also important to have a global team. And we have outsiders, for example, myself, other people from the region, other people from other countries that come together and look at this topic of cultural intelligence as a team. So here, working with Dr. Eva from the University of Ljubljana. Her interests, of course, are more in the psychological area, her expertise, which brings a richness to our study, because we're looking at culture and groups of people, where she looks at the individual perspective. And we found that it's a wonderful combination to come together to work as a team. As I said, my interest is in leadership studies, and I feel that you cannot be an effective global leader unless you have an understanding of your own cultural intelligence. And so the instrument that we use is a self-rating instrument. You can take it yourself. It only has 20 questions. It looks at those 4 areas, dimensions we call them, that we looked at earlier. And you can see where you are in terms of your cultural intelligence. I should say right from the beginning that when we use the word intelligence, we don't necessarily mean you're smarter. It's like emotional intelligence. You've probably heard of that, or social intelligence. So these are issues that you can and should be aware of as you work with others. And there's a method that we're using to make sure that the instrument is understandable, make sure that it's effective in terms of actually measuring what it is that we think we're measuring. What's very intriguing is to compare countries then, to see, and we're working right now on the results between Moldova and Ukraine, and that's what we presented at a conference of all the top people who are involved in intercultural studies in Europe. It's called CITAR. It's a group that stands for Society of Intercultural Education, Training, and Research. It's a worldwide organization. There's a European chapter, and they had the meeting, as I said, in Dublin, and we presented our results from comparing the findings from Moldova and Ukraine. If you'd like to know more about the findings, please see me at lunch, and I'll be happy to share it with you. Watching the clock. And so this is the procedure we use. We look at the instrument, we have it translated, and we use focus groups and student testing, and we work with local partners. The focus groups, this is just a quick view of the work that we did in Slovenia. We had 2 focus groups, one down in the coast, Koper, of course in the capital city of Ljubljana. We try to always do that capital city and then outside the capital city to get an understanding of people's differences that way. And so we had people from, about 10 people in each group from all different professions, different backgrounds, the 2 genders, and of course different educational levels. And so we also did a study of 527 Slovenian students to see their understanding of the instrument as well that we're using, and their own cultural intelligence. Very interesting results about the students in Slovenia. I'll give you one quick, I'm sure you're very curious, so I'll give you one insight very quickly. We were somewhat intrigued to see the modesty of the Slovenian people, which I think is something that as an outsider you notice right away. the modesty. And what we found is that they rated themselves rather low. In actual fact, I think they know more than they think they know. So we can talk about that too. So the implications, I think, are profound, and I'll wrap up with this. Clearly, when you talk about cultural intelligence, it's very, very important and useful to use it for global collaboration. As I told you, I'm interested in global teams, and I'm doing studies on that. And CQ awareness among leaders and organizations makes it more effective. We've seen this. Another implication that's very important for us is the need for mutual trust within teams, and that can be built and developed as well. Many studies on that, and understanding cultural intelligence is a way to enhance that as well. And finally, the need to develop future leadership. As we've heard in many of our presentations, we know that the future is in the hands of younger people, and it's very important to help them to develop their cultural intelligence as well. So, again, I can talk more about the details if you'd like during today and tomorrow, and be happy to take any questions that you have at that time. Thank you.